What's up, everybody? Matt here, back with another episode of Spring Practice Reports. We had a couple schools start up this weekend, a couple that started up today on March 20th, but not a lot of news, as unfortunately some of these schools refuse to let people in to watch. So we have to just kind of go off the little bit that we got, but there's still a couple schools that we're going to talk about here on Monday, March 20th. We have got to start with Colorado. The college football world is abuzz, obviously, with everything going on in Colorado, right? Deion Sanders shows up there. Their spring game is going to be televised, I believe, on ESPN. When you have a bunch of other big schools not even getting that treatment, they're going on ESPN2, ESPN3, ESPN the Ocho, all over the place. And for all that talk and all that coverage, unfortunately, didn't get a lot from their first spring practice. Deion has been praising, however, new offensive coordinator, former Kent State head coach Sean Lewis, for his up-tempo offense. It is definitely something that I'm looking forward to watching, having Shedeur Sanders back there at quarterback. Got probably true freshman running back Dylan Edwards getting a decent amount of carries there. And then wide receiver / defensive back Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr. at the wide receiver position. This could be a very fun offense in that high-tempo Sean Lewis style there. And that is who's really gotten most of the praise. On top of that, Deion has come out and said that he's going to make every player earn their number. But he has praised Jimmy Horn Jr., the transfer wide receiver, who I do think probably has a chance to have at least a decent season here with Colorado. I mean, they did not have much in there besides Jordan Tyson, who got injured late last year. I was not able to find anything if he's back and fully healthy in practice. Obviously, they also have Travis Hunter, former number 1 player overall in the recruit rankings, is playing both defense and offense. I will be honest, I'm excited just to watch Colorado football, just to see what Hunter looks like, to see him against P5 competition playing defense and offense. You know, they get that game against USC early on. How insane would that be if he picks off Caleb Williams and then, like, on the next drive ends up scoring a receiving touchdown? I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Travis Hunter alone. You know, I know Colorado is getting a lot of hype because of Deion Sanders, and well-deserved. He is a disruptor of the sport, and I think it is a lot of fun. But I'm really excited to watch Travis Hunter, if I'm being honest, just to see him play both sides of the field. It's been a very long time since we've been able to see a player do that, and I think he's got the talent to do both if he wanted to. So I am excited, but I should not, again, pass up that Jimmy Horn Jr. was getting a lot of praise from head coach Deion Sanders. Sticking in the Big 12, or I'm sorry, Colorado was in the Big 12. They're now in the Pac-12. Going over to the Big 12, we're going to talk a little bit about TCU. So we know Max Duggan is gone. He is headed to the NFL. Well, last year, quarterback Chandler Morris technically beat him out for that starting job, even though he did kind of get Wally pipped after losing it, getting injured. Well, him and Party threw passes today with the ones. The reports were that Morris looked better. He had a couple really nice throws, some good zip on them, mostly to wide receiver Savion Williams. Speaking of Savion Williams, he is moving from the Z to the X, much like Quentin Johnston did last year. And Williams did seem to have a pretty good connection and some pretty good chemistry with Morris on day one. With Williams now at X, Jordan Hudson has moved into Z. He looks more physical than he did last year, according to the reports. And this is the interesting one. Blake Noel, who honestly is not like a big thing here for us, but Cordell Russell was getting snaps at Z. They had JoJo Earl in the slot. He apparently looked incredible out there in day one. They said he looked a lot like Darius Davis wearing that number 11, but they were moving him all around the offense. He also had a pretty good connection with Morris. JoJo Earl, a guy I think could have a really big year this year. Really intrigued to see what he looks like. Again, they're moving him all around the offense, but was starting in the slot. On over to Tennessee, score another win on the position changes for the C2C crew. Wide receiver, quote unquote, Cam Seldon has come in but took all of his work with the running backs. Now, he is still listed as a wide receiver on Tennessee's depth chart, but our recruiting team predicted that he is going to be a running back, much like we predicted Emmanuel Henderson last year, who was going to be a running back for Alabama. We predicted we'd be moved to wide receiver. He has been moved to wide receiver. Seldon looks like he is going to be moved officially to running back, or at least day one. He took all of the reps with the running backs. Oregon transfer Dante Thornton worked mostly out of the slot behind Squirrel White, and apparently both of them looked really good. But the one that probably impressed the most, it sounds like, was Caleb Webb, who was unfortunately working behind Ramel Keaton in the outside receiver position. There wasn't much difference between the two, but there was some reports about Caleb Webb making some nice catches. And the hope for a quarterback battle here in Tennessee doesn't look like it's going to happen. Josh Heupel said that Joe Milton has elite traits. And I don't think that Nico is going to have much of a shot at winning this job, although we've all kind of talked about that. Joe Milton came in, had a very good game against Clemson, looked like a completely different quarterback, if we're all being honest. And if he can get that out of Joe Milton, there's no way Nico starts unless they lose like 4 games. Maybe then Nico comes in, but it does seem like Nico is definitely going to be the 2, as they really don't have any other scholarship quarterbacks on the depth chart. So all it takes is one injury. We could see Nico come in and possibly Wally Pipp Joe Milton. But while Heupel has kind of come out and said there is a quote-unquote quarterback competition, I find that very hard to believe when you're out there talking about Joe Milton having elite traits. I just don't see how there's actually competition there. So Nico probably sitting year 1. Going on over to Alabama, this is one of the teams I was hoping to get some information on. We're obviously dying to know about this quarterback battle and everything going on there. Well, nobody was allowed in practice week 1 or for day 1. Now, there were people doing everything they could to get pictures. There were some pictures taken. You can go find them 24/7 Sports on 3. The only thing to really come out of here was that Jalen Milroe was seen taking the snaps with the ones. So right now, take that for what it is. I do think this is going to actually be a quarterback battle. I don't think we're going to find out the answer to this till after fall camp. I would not be surprised if Jalen Milroe starts the season for Alabama. We really don't know that much about Tommy Rees. He's only been an offensive coordinator for a couple of years. He's had Ty Buckner. He then had Drew Pine. Neither one of those guys, I think, have the talent that Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson has. For me personally, I would think they'd want a guy like Ty Simpson due to just kind of the questions they have all around that offense. But if they're not expected to pass the ball a ton because there's a lot of questions on that wide receiver core, maybe they do go with the Jalen Milroe. It's got to help the running game. That is, I think, a strength of Alabama right now with the running, with Justice Haynes coming in. You've got Richard Young as well. Chase McClellan looks like he could have a big year. So Roydell Williams is still there. Could be a big bruiser for them. That they've got some decent running backs there, and the wide receivers are a question mark, so maybe they do go with Milroe. But as of right now, looks like Milroe is taking the snaps with the ones. On over to Texas A&M. Not much listed on the practice, but they always do a really good job of giving you the depth chart on the day. So with the ones, no surprise here, Connor Wigman. But the running back was Amari Daniels running with the ones. Wide receivers were Noah Thomas, Moose Muhammad II, and Evan Stewart. No real surprise there with Donovan Green in at tight end. The 2s for today, Max Johnson was the quarterback running with the 2s with Le'Veon Moss and Ruben Owens splitting reps. That's the more interesting one, right? Because those are the 2 we expect to probably be the starting running backs for Texas A&M at some point, with Raymond Contrell, Micah Tease, the true freshman, and Aeneas Smith running with the 2s. Jake Johnson running with the 2s at tight end. Only a couple more schools left here, guys. Michigan State, not much to go off of here, but head coach Mel Tucker has come out and said that this will be a QB competition in camp. Kind of surprising. I don't really know how to take this. Peyton Thorne has been the starter. I would think Mel Tucker is not just saying this as lip service. Maybe he is, as he doesn't want to see any of these guys transfer out. So right behind him, you have junior quarterback Noah Kim, who did see some time last year, and redshirt freshman Caden Hauser. Hauser was a guy I was big on last year. I had him ranked fairly high in my quarterback rankings, out of St. John Bosco, dual threat quarterback as well. Sam Levitt, who we all love here on the recruiting team, is not on campus yet. He will not be there until summer, so I don't think he's really in the quarterback competition this year. I personally would love for them to go to Hauser or even Kim, just because I think we know what Thorne is, and I think it's fair to say he's not it. maybe that will happen. I don't know that I believe this is really a quarterback competition. I feel like Tucker's saying this just to keep these guys in the room, as he doesn't want to lose them in case something happens with Thorns. We did see Thorne get a little bit banged up, but I would love if he is being honest and this is an actual quarterback competition. Last school, Arizona, and there wasn't much to come out of this one. A couple wide receivers. Tet McMillan made a couple plays. Jacob Cowling, we already know about. There was a true freshman wide receiver looking good, and I forgot what his name was. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Jackson Holman, who they said looks more like a tight end out there when he's playing. He's a big guy, but they were moving him all around the formation. I'll be very intrigued to see what he ends up doing. They said that he was really kind of challenging safeties at the catch point. And by far looked like the best wide receiver or freshman wide receiver with the group running. The real main takeaway for me was Jonah Coleman, a guy that I talked a lot about last year on these spring camp reports. He impressing the coaches a lot. They said that he is even bigger this season. He has gained weight, but he also seems to have gained speed as well. It was noticeable when he got into the open field. He was able to run past defenders, juke defenders out. There were defenders bouncing off him. They said that his lower body strength was incredible. The fact that he was able to add weight and possibly speed, again, it's just what they're saying. A lot of people are expecting a major jump from him this year, probably being the starting running back. So Jonah Coleman got a lot of hype last year. We didn't get to see a lot of him. I'm excited for him. I hope he's able to take a step forward this year for Arizona. That'll be it for today. But, guys, we've got a ton of teams opening this week. I mean, just off the top of my head, I know Ole Miss opens tomorrow. There are a ton of others that I'm forgetting all opening this week. I'm very excited to see kind of what some of these schools look like. You know, a lot of schools are taking spring break, and they're spacing these out. So for those of you who don't know, you're allowed 15 practices through spring. So some of them do theirs very early, get them all out of the way. Some space them out. For instance, Oregon, weirdly enough, only did 2 practices, and now they're not practicing again until April 4th, and then they're getting them all in before their spring game. So it's a little chaotic trying to keep up with all these. We're going to hit a bunch of them as often as we can. Minnesota, Illinois, Ole Miss, Colorado State, West Virginia, Baylor, Purdue, Utah, Texas Tech, Western Kentucky, Notre Dame, Texas State, Iowa, Wisconsin, Marshall, all those opening in the next couple days. And then we get full into spring madness as we lead up toward the end of April with these spring games. So we're, again, going to be doing these at least 3 times a week to try and keep you guys updated as much as possible. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of these videos, and make sure to stick around. If you're watching this on Monday, our C200 initial rankings release drops tonight. Jump in and join us live.